So welcome.
Raphael Burke, come on board.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Tracy. Thanks for having me. Can I just say quick hellos to yourselves? Obviously, Daryl, I've known Daryl for probably 12, 13 years. Angie Stinchcomb, I've met Luke, Lindsay, spoken to Brian, and obviously there's people like Jay, Giovanni, Rich, Andrews, James, Erasmus, Matt. Lots of people I'm going to want to link with, even if I haven't mentioned your name there, I would love to link with you. So the last 2 times I've come on, it's been amazing. Just met so many business-minded people. It's Daryl, Daryl introduced me to the group, but it's been amazing. So thank you. It's been amazing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
And it was great to see you join us last week for the first time, and just listening to your story over the weekend from last week. It's been an incredible story that you shared with us, and so great. So I'm just going to ask you some series of questions.
Sure.
To delve into a bit of your background. So, what was your love of football something you discovered from an early age? And tell us a little bit about your journey to become a professional player.
So my parents came to the country from Jamaica in 1963, and my mum tells a story when she landed. She was 19, and she'd never seen snow. So when she first got here, it was in April '63. Snow came. So sadly, she passed away exactly 50 years later. So I was. She tells me a story that in her stomach, she always knew I was going to be a footballer because I was always kicking. That's always stayed with me. She just said I was constantly kicking and moving and stuff. So I just always could play football. I was a dribbler. I played in the Cubs. I played at school. And the early stage, what happened, there was my mentor in football, there's 3 mentors, Dave Burnside, Pete Coleman, Frank Jacobs. So Dave Burnside was working for the FA, and the late Bobby Robson watched me play. And he recommended me to go to Manchester United when I was 12. So he told the manager about me being down in the Southwest, and that opened my dream to go to Man United. So it was something that I loved to do from an early age.
Excellent. And tell us about your time at Manchester United and your experience of playing with such a tremendous team, with like the likes of Beckham and Scholes and Giggs.
So I'd also gone to the national school, Lilleshall, which the best players in the country go to. I did a scholarship, so I moved away from home. I got taken away from home when I was 14, so that was a learning curve. I had I had a month, actually. It was 1990 World Cup. I was able to watch the World Cup. I had a month home, and then I was whisked off to Manchester in 1990. So at the time, we hadn't made it through. So Beckham, Scholes, Giggs, Neville's, we were just in the youth team. And the thing that's strongest about those boys, and we're going to go on to talk about it, is just that desire, that work ethic, and they don't quit. And that's so powerful. Sometimes when people are going for success, and this is what I want to tell the story about, when they face obstacles or when they face challenges, the word fail means first attempt in learning. And I think those boys, how they learn it, they just know that first attempt in learning did never stop them. They had that determination to keep going. And that's why they created such an amazing team. They were such an amazing team because of they never accepted failure. They always faced it. So that was amazing. And I look back now, and these are some of the best players in the world. So to be, Mike, to say to my kids and say to the kids that I coach now, to look back and those learning experience, it's the best thing for me. People say to me is, "Oh, but do you regret that?" And I say no, because I'm now mentoring and I'm now passing those experiences on. So it's I've got some stories, obviously, with some of the players I've worked with, which I'll go on to. So I won't say anything about that now. So.
You know what? It's amazing because I was having a discussion on a podcast the other day, and just most people who are either thinking of setting up a business or they're thinking of doing something, whether it's invest in property like yourself or something else, they're always scared of failure. It's that fear of failure. And I always brought my kids up, and I know Carly's online today, that failure is just a way of learning. And obviously I always used to say to them, the bigger the failure, the bigger the learn. What would you say to anyone out there today if they're scared of doing something because they're fear of failure?
Well, like I said, Tracy, failure, I think the way we all look at failure is, if we say that word failure, it brings gloom, it brings sadness, it brings embarrassment. You know, it brings embarrassment because, you know, you've got to try and go to somebody and say, oh, I didn't make it, or I failed in business, or I failed. So it can bring embarrassment, but I don't see it like that. And obviously, as I go to talk to you, I think failure, when we're younger, as a baby, I used to fall over and bang my head. But my mum used to say it was so funny. I'd bang my head, cry for a couple of minutes, and go and do the same thing. So I didn't know what failure was. When we're children, nobody tells us what failure is. So we just keep doing it until we get it right. So that's the beauty about the mindset, is like, if you fail, well, that's okay, go again. It's the first attempt in learning, and you correct yourself and you go again. But I think as we get older, we get taught in our minds, oh, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to go and tell somebody that I failed. I don't want to tell somebody that my business is gone. So I just want to, with this talk, I just want to encourage all the new businesses, all the new setups, embrace it. Look at it as a first attempt in learning. And I'll talk about my failures, and we'll see how I've managed to turn those around, which really inspires me, and I hope it inspires other people as well.
Yeah, sure. And I know, obviously, you know, Paul said when he brought you on just now that you used to work with, you know, you obviously played football with David Beckham. And I know one of David Beckham's goals, he put it up, I heard this many years ago, he put a note up on his fireplace and said, when I grew up, I'm going to be a footballer and I'm going to marry a pop star, right?
Well, do you know what? Yeah, well, David Beckham's the epitome of success, because every free kick that you see him score, he was on the training pitch, because I know this firsthand. He was on the training pitch. He would have hit hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and then you see the one that he scores. So his determination again is amazing. So yeah, you know, that's amazing. So yeah.
Did you have that when you were growing up? Did you have a goal like that?
Well, let me go into my story. So when I was growing up, so this is let me join the dots. So when I was growing up, I was very a skillful player, and what that meant was, and this can not help. What that meant was, I didn't have to practice for anything, and I don't mean that arrogantly. I never really faced failure from say 10 to 20. So that meant, because of my natural ability, people always said to me, oh, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. Now what that did, and I wasn't being horrible, what that did is it just let me think, well, I had a fixed mindset. So what that meant was, because I could do something, if I would dribble, I wouldn't run around the pitch. I'd be quite lazy. And Darryl would laugh because I played for his team. I'd be quite lazy. I'd stand around. I wouldn't track back. And I knew, if you just give me the ball in the last 5 minutes, I'll nutmeg them and I'll curl it in the top corner. So it wasn't because I was being horrible. I just thought, well, I'm good. I don't have to do anything. Well, that's wrong. And that's the wrong mindset. So what happened, when I was at Man United and I'm competing with the best players, the manager's got the strongest mindset in the world to win. Every time I faced an obstacle, I walked away from that obstacle, because it was like, well, I can't face this. I didn't have that never say die attitude, never say die, to just face a challenge, to grab it by the scruff of the neck. So within probably 3 years of my contract, every time it went wrong, I wasn't in the team and I was battling with strong players, I'd phone my mum and say, I want to come home, mum, or I'd phone my dad and say, I want to come home. So it didn't set me up to go and face what life was really about. I call it lollipops and roses. You know, when you
Oh, I can't hear you. We've lost
I'm back on. That's it. Sorry. I call it lollipops and roses. You grow up thinking that things are just going to go your way. You're never going to have a problem. And that's not the real story. So when I was 21, I lost my contract. And that was the big turning point. So for 21 years or 20 years, I've had it easy. At 21, this is where the story begins in failures and how it shaped me. So all my friends had gone to school and were going off to uni. All the players I'd played with. So when I was at Lillishire, I was with Nick Barmby, was at Liverpool and Spurs, Sol Campbell, Trevor Sinclair. All those footballers went on to play for England. So I went from being with them to the bottom of the queue. So the only job I could get, because I failed at school, so I just messed about in school. So the only job I could get was, there was a fruit and veg store locally called the Banana Boat, and the person who owned it was a friend of the family. So he said, this is a true story. I came from Man United, and he said, listen, you can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you can come and you can help me on the fruit and veg store. I'm going to give you £2 an hour. So I had a real life experience of working for £2 an hour.
Wow.
And I had another friend who owned a gym, and because I could do it part-time, he said, look, if you come and keep fit in the gym, I'll give you £2 an hour. So I was basically getting £4 an hour. It was a true story. And I had to wake up. I was chucked into the deep end, you know? So, and the first time in my life, from swanning about, traveling around, scholarships, I'm in the real world. And I can't rely on my talent. I can't rely on my ability. I can't rely on anything. And I'm in the real world. So that was my learning curve. I was thrust into the deep end, chucked out to sea. Would you see me again? Will I come up? Will I resurface? And we'll go on in the story. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Excellent. And tell us, I know you genuinely left the team and everything. You said you went into the, fruit and veg store, and then what made you go into property? What was that sort of decision to sort of like go from there into that area? What was the turning point?
Okay. So when I was at Man United and I left, go back a little bit. My late father, this is why I so believe in what you guys are doing and what some of you are doing by mentoring. Okay. Bless his heart. He's the loveliest guy. He just said, look, son, I think you should buy a property, but he had no clue. Okay. He had no clue. He didn't. So I had a mum, I was a mummy's boy, and my mum just said, look, my dad was called Raphael. My mum just said, look, Raphael, he's got money, leave him alone. I wanted to drive a nice soft top car. I wanted to chase some girls. And my mum was like, leave him, he's young. But my dad said, look, when I left, I had £12,000. This was 95. And you could pick up a house for 30,000, okay? So I decided to buy the soft top car, and I lost all the money. What happened further on, Paul, was a bit later on, my mum's house was going to be repossessed. So I managed to sell the car. I took the money out because I realized, do you know what? It's silly to be wasting this money. And I put it into property, or I put it into save my mum's house. That's what we did. Because if I wouldn't have had the money from the sale, my mum would have lost her house.
Wow.
So 8 years, I think I was 31 by the time I got into property, and it just niggled at me. The car I bought was a Suzuki Vitara soft top. I don't know if any of you older heads would see that with the fat boy wheels. I thought I was the bee's knees driving it around, but I've calculated that car, anybody's listening to this, that car is a £1.5 million car. And if you understand that, that means the money I put into that car, those properties I could have bought are 1.5 as we speak.
That's nuts.
So it's nuts, isn't it? So I had a 1.5 million pound soft top car, and I managed. It was the wake up call. I call it one of the two best mistakes I ever made was leaving Man United without fighting for it, knowing that I had such a brilliant opportunity and I never fought for it, and buying that car. This is an example of what I say were two massive failures, but number one, I own them. The quicker you own your failures, the better you can make them work. If I would have looked back and blamed everybody because it was they were lazy, they didn't pass to me, they didn't give me, you have to own them. And what happened in the last recession when I had property, we were nearly bankrupt. This is another story. So we were nearly bankrupt, and everybody had told me to sell because it was like, you got no chance, Raph. But something happened from the time at Man United. I knew if I if I walked away from this now, I knew it was game over. There was just something in it, in my heart that said, so I looked in the mirror and I laugh about this and I just said, you know what? We play until I win. That's the honest truth. I kid you not. I looked in the mirror. My late mum's passed away. My wife will vouch for me. Both of them said, Raph, you're nuts. Why are you staying? And I just said, listen, I don't quit now. I know what I've had in the past. I don't quit. So that gave me the resilience to stick through that recession. I held on to all my portfolio, and that portfolio now is doing really, really well. So property is something that I'm really strong on. So yeah, I'll go back to you.
And what's sort of the best piece of advice you've ever received, Raph?
I'm going to go back to my dad. I was talking to my wife about this. Obviously, I'm going to use this in the business acronym because obviously there's other things which I strongly believe, but I'm going to keep this in the business acronym. And my dad, like my dad said, just to purchase property. And what's happened now, Paul and Tracy, is I mentor. I'm going to be starting a mentoring company. I'm in talks now with a few people. We're really excited to be starting this. But I've been able to mentor Joseph Bryan. He's at Fulham FC. Bobby Reed's at Fulham. Derek Williams is at Blackburn, and we've talked about me talking about them, so they're fine with that. But I can give you an example about what I said to Joe on his first contract. Or his second contract. He was 19, and he was earning £1,500 a week. And because of the mistakes that I previously made, we sat down, we looked at it, and we said, look, Joe, we're going to pretend that this is your last ever contract. You're never going to play again. Okay. So you need to pay off this house in 4 years. And because of the things that I knew would happen, we're doing interviews with lots of former players. And some of the things that the players say, they say, look, one player who was at QPR said, look, I would have loved to have had a mentor when I was playing at QPR. And we could have picked up a flat and it was 100,000. And he said, I drive past that flat now and it's worth $1 million. Okay. Yeah. I've got a player who was at Cardiff at the time, and he said, Raph, these are the things that we're going to put he said, Raph, we could have picked up flats for 47,000. Okay. We had 5,000 deposits. That was it. It was easy. Why I said no. Another player said, yeah, those flats are now worth 350. He's worth 700,000. Okay. So what I'm doing now is with Joe, we went for his contract, and within the first 3 years, he was able to pay off his house. On each of his contracts, we just pretend that it's the last contract he's going to get. So my mindset is you invest in that property, because obviously holding on to that property, it gives you passive income, it gives you growth. And even on a recession, even if it turns pear-shaped now, people aren't going to all of a sudden go and live in trees and say, right, we're not going to rent houses. So if people aren't buying houses, what you're going to find is your rents are going to go even better the other way. So I just think it's an amazing thing to have alongside any other business is property. So that's what I've been able to do with work with young players now. Not just young players. We've worked with young people. I've worked with somebody who we mentored when he was 18. His net worth wasn't that strong. He's 30, just come up to 31. He's got a £250,000 net worth now. And that's a great feeling inside to know from my advice, just like my dad tried to give my advice. My dad could have said, look, your net worth is 1.5, but he didn't know how to. So it's nice to be able to go alongside these people, whether you're players or sports people or normal people, and give that as well.
Amazing. And obviously you've said about net worth. Obviously we always talk about your network is your net worth. So how important do you think networking is to grow your business and obviously grow your network?
Well, I've been friends with Darryl for a long time, and then I'm not just saying this just to big up the network. He talks about it all the time, and I've been on now with you guys, and the people I've met just sitting here for nearly 2 hours. It's been outstanding. The people I'm going to link with, you know, I'm going to link, like, Lindsay's laughing probably because she, you know, if anyone knows me, I chat for England. So if you actually know me, I can't stop chatting. So when I link with you, do you know what I mean? You've got ideas, or people have got, not just you guys, everybody on this network has got a life experience, a moment, a nugget that they can give out that will just benefit the person. So, you know, being able to listen and being able to listen to their, Lindsay sort of said to me, the prices that she's picking up property, and I nearly fainted. She was laughing because I was saying, well, you can pick up a whole property for that price. And she just was laughing because, you know, where we are, they're a lot more expensive in Bristol. So my portfolios, you know, you're buying in at sort of 250 to 350,000, whereas there you're picking up a whole unit at that price. So, you know, the networking with all the guys over in Wales, and I've got lots of people from Bristol that want to come over to Wales and link, whether it's buying properties or linking. There's a lot of people going to be coming over, so that's good.
Welcome to the fam.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
some great stories there, and you know, I think a lot of people have been inspired by your story, and you know, and it's great. And you know, it's only the second time that you know, that we've only met you, and the experience that you've gained within 1 week is amazing, and I'm sure there's lots of people that want to connect with you, which is great. So thank you, Raph. Listen, you know, I could talk all night to you, but listen, let's hand over to the audience. Do we have any questions? That, you know, please raise your hand, or
if you are, obviously unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, and let's get some questions going for Raph. We'd like to ask him a question. I'm sure Darryl will.
Don't be shy, peeps. I'm sure someone would like to ask a question.
We got any questions?
Can I?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Carol.
Hi. Hi, Raph.
Hi, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm a property investor myself. I have been since 2000, so I understand what you were saying about going through the recession and the problems related with that.
Yeah.
Your connection is, I know Tracy and Paul might laugh because I ask this question every time from people who are in sport.
Okay.
How do you do the transition from being a sports person to moving into non-sport industry, and how, you know, playing time is only a limited time, and how do you work with people to encourage them to prepare
To do that?
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's a brilliant question. This is why we're going to be setting this up properly. We're going to have on our website, we're interviewing former players, and the biggest stories are the former players who they never walked alongside a mentor who could explain to them how a lot of their income can be put aside to put into assets that will pay them at the end of their game. So what you'll find is, at the moment, you'll have players earning good money, but the money that they're getting in per month, they're spending that money at the same level. Okay. So for instance, when I was working with Joe, we would mentor them and say, look, Joe, you should be able to finish. Now, there's a saying in football that says, earn the right to play. And what that means is, when you go on the pitch, because I was a bit of a fancy Dan, wanted to do nutmegs and dribbles and flick the ball up. Well, my coaches would go crazy, because I would go out the first few minutes, start doing that, and there'd be a big, strong defender just go straight through me, kick me 6 foot in the air. And in his mind, he was saying, right, you've got to earn the right to play against me. So what we're saying is, when you're getting this type of money, you've got to earn the right to spend that. Now, if you're spending all your capital, at the end, you're not going to have any left. And the examples of all these former players who are going to be doing interviews and talking to the new players is your investments that if you use this money properly, you'll have a tree. That means that if you want to go and buy that new R8, for instance, that's fine. You're only going to buy it after all your investments paid for it. if you buy that with your capital, you're gonna be finished. And so with the players that we've worked with, their investments, you know, I'm happy to say their investments can buy them, you know, they've got top of the range sports cars, but it's passive income that's paying for them. It's definitely passive. And I've just seen a post from Lindsay, definitely your assets pay for your stuff. And I think today, even with my kids, a lot of people don't understand this principle that your money that you earn, you must keep hold of it and make it work for you. So even if you earned £100 a week, £10 of that, you should never let it go, because that £10 should go on to work for you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's how we mentored them. Some of them, because of it was easy with Joe and Bobby, they were grounded kids, and they enjoyed. In the end, they really enjoy investing. So, for instance, Joe, he comes back to me, and he's coming back with sophisticated trades. He does the stock markets. He comes back with, but he's comfortably put his money away. That means he can concentrate on playing, and knowing that when he leaves the game, he's not going to have any surprises. So what we're trying to do is set up the company so that we can walk alongside these young players, and teach them, not basically from our mistake. I think all the former players that I'm talking to, I'm saying, listen, your mistake is a crime if you hold on to that mistake and you don't make it known to the next. That's a crime. That's how I look at that. So our mistakes, our mistakes, we shouldn't be embarrassed by them. We should document them, and we should then use them so that the ones that are playing, it's a crime if we hold on to them. You know?
Amazing attitude to have, Raph.
So,
just one thing I just want to touch about. When I first met you last week, it's a small world, and you said to me that one of your inspirations was reading the Rich Dad books.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, I said to you that, you know, the co-founder of Rich Dad, Sharon Lecter, is our business mentor for Introbiz for the last 3 years, and just so happens Sharon Lecter is on this week's women's conference.
Wow! So you can pass on. I think that book, that whole book, is arguably one of the best books. And it's so simple. It's so simple, and that's what we try to do when we're mentoring. We're trying to make it so simple for the young players or for the person. If you can simplify it, you can really help them. And that book was so simple. Even Joe actually said this last week. He said, I went back, Raph, and it's just so simple to read. It's just so clear.
Well, she's coming on Friday at 3 o'clock. You should jump on, because, as I say, it's for men and women, and it'd be good to see you.
That'd be lovely.
And it's surprising how many people I speak to who are in property that have read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and has inspired them into property. It's incredible. Do we have any other questions as well?
Yes, we got Sue Worrall would like to ask a question. I know she's messaged me. So over to you, Sue.
Hello, Sue.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Hi, Sue.
Amazing story, and yes, lots of things to take from that. Brilliant. So you teach the youngsters about investing the money they earn and their worth, and looking after it. So do you also teach them about their health? And when you learned about health when you were playing, did you keep that through your life now? And do you still invest in your own health?
So thank you for that question. If you know me, this last lockdown, I've been, I train, this is my first week off. I train for 10 weeks solid. I probably might get in trouble because I came out twice a day, and I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble, but I wanted to keep really healthy. So in the clubs that they're in, they have special sports. So Luke was at Spurs. The club that I'm at, Bristol City, we have individual sports scientists that work with the players individually, and they even go outside of the club sometimes to work individually on these areas. So that when we finished playing, we'd sometimes just finish off with some chips, and really bad. It's really bad. We would have bad food. But now, the players, the attention to detail that they go through is amazing. And there are players, and there are players, even though they work with their clubs, they're keen to get this information. So if we could hook up, I can pass on your details as well. because that's, if they don't perform on the pitch, then they're not going to be, the first priority for them is to perform on the pitch. They've got to be ready. They've got to be, we have sports psychologists. So one of my friends is a sports psychologist. So they've got to make sure their mind's ready. They've got to make sure they're ready to play. And then what I'm trying to do to fill the gap in some of these players is saying, all right, you've got a team of experts, to take care of you there. Let's just make it easy. So when you leave the game, I don't want your story. I'd rather make your story a success, that you can be comfortable now, and not have any regrets financially for when you're going on in the future. And it's an amazing feeling to know the advice that I've given. They've gone on with it. So
Right.
I hope that.
And I have to say, I've known football over the years is when the one that's changed a lot, because they used to really train for 3/4 of an hour each way and shove sugar in them to just get that done.
Well,
the training was fantastic. They were all brittle. So
do you know what? Now
moved on a lot.
the attention to detail, I think Luke would be able to say this. You've got conditioning coaches, you've got mental coaches, you've got dietitians. So you sort of section out each section of their mind, and allow them to perform at the best. And I think the gap that I've seen is the mentor outside of the pitch. And obviously being the best thing for me is linking with those former players. And you know what, every former player I've spoke to, it's been amazing. Every former player, I don't want to say their names now because obviously we're trying to put together the company so that we can interview these former players. But you could see all of them have said, do you know what, Raph, it's amazing to be, if I can help a young player with the decisions I've made, and it's genuine, you can sense a genuineness that they've said, that'll be amazing, because my mistake shouldn't be just my mistake, it should be their success. And I say that to anybody, whether you're what you're doing, your mistake is not your mistake. Don't shy away from it, don't run away from it, don't think it's an embarrassment. It's not an embarrassment, because if you own it and you deal with it, you can make somebody else successful. Please, everybody, let's embrace it, own it, and go out and use it to make other people go on far beyond where you are. And then,
thank you, Raph.
Yeah.
Got enough for 2 more questions, and we've got
Okay.
Okay,
Awesome.
And then Darryl Irwin. So Andrew, you're next. Over to you, Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah, Raph, it's sort of something that probably chime with you at the moment. Let's say that you had, there's 3 parts to this. Let's say you had a young person here, provided, of course, they'd listen to you, and they asked you what lessons life has taught you. Number 1, what would you tell them? What taught you that? And then finally, what does the future hold for you now?
What has life taught me? Okay.
And what lesson would you tell them, and what taught you that?
Okay, so the number 1 lesson is you've got to be diligent. Okay, life can slap you around. Okay, so it can hurt you. You can go into a situation. It can look like it's not going to work, but you've got to, if you believe in what you believe in, you've got to stay with it. You don't walk away. Just like I said, I'm here till I win. Do you understand me? And that's hard to say, but if you play until you win, you get to dictate the rules. If you let life dictate the rules to you, that was the one thing, like we said with Man United. I was at, and I know we're going to laugh, people say it's Liverpool, whatever, but they are the biggest club in the world. I had the best opportunity, but at every first attempt, I walked away. So you've got to know that you've got to prepare to fight for what you want. Future, what does life hold for me now in the future? Is that the next one? Yeah.
What does the future hold for you now, Raph?
Well, we're in a situation now where coming out of the lockdown, it's given me a chance to think and evaluate, and I really want the next phase of my life to help as many people, whether that be young person, sports person, normal person. I want to be able to use all the things that I've learned in my life to go and help them achieve what they consider to be successful. It might not be, like, playing for Man United, winning the treble, being the best players in the world is a massive bar of success, okay? But I didn't achieve that, and not many people in the world are going to achieve that. But if success to me is making sure that other footballers end their careers having, I've taught them about the game with coaching, and they can leave the game in a better financial situation so that they can have money for their generations. Well, that's success for me. So I've got to respect the top success. I respect them, but I still got to aim for certain successes in that. So I want my future to be where I can teach as many people how to be successful in property, in sport as I can. Because I think if someone said to me, is your success about how much money you can earn? I can honestly say it's not. I can honestly say, because you can earn, there's only so much money you can spend. I'm a very simple person. Like, my car is no more than £3,000. If I spend over £3,000, I sort of get funny with that. My wife has a better car than me, hers is brand new, but I'm a very simple person. So success to me would be like fulfillment of knowing that that person is going on past me. Okay. And one more thing, sorry on that, and I'm going to have to, as you're speaking, I think it's again, this is a crime. If my mums or the generation above me, their target should always have been for the next generation to be more successful than them. Okay. So if I'm in this generation or you're in your generation, if you don't make the generation below you more successful, I think that's a crime as well. They should be a better footballer than you, more money than you, a better business person than you. Everything in that next generation, whether it be your kids or someone else's kids that you help, they should always exceed you. And if you haven't done your job in that, you're selfish. It's criminal. That's my motto on that.
Thank you, Raph. And one last question
is from Daryl from Creation. Over to you, Daryl.
This better be a good question, mate, because I know what sort of questions he's going to throw at me. What is it, Mr. Owen?
So, aside from running a football team and managing the team and playing for me, and obviously, apart from myself, who is the best player that you've played with?
Who is the best footballer that I ever played with?
Yeah.
Okay. Two players. It'd be between two players. The most intelligent footballer who his intelligence is beyond nobody's close to is Paul Scholes. The most naturally gifted in terms of what he could do with the ball, how he can create, is Ryan Giggs. So those two, you're going to have the most intelligent, like the one who can read the game, can be 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, control the whole game anytime he wants to with his knowledge, is Paul Scholes. And then the one you saw his goal in the FA Cup, you could just give him the ball and he's just going to produce something out of this world, is Ryan Giggs. Special mention to Nick Barmby, to Sol Campbell, all these other players who are great players. But those two are truly top draw. That you're not going to get many more players of that caliber. Like Ryan Giggs' record speaks for itself and what they've won. So those are the two most special players, definitely.
Wow. Well, I don't know about you guys. That was absolutely amazing talk. Did you all give him a big round of applause?
Do you know what, guys? Can you just say, Trace, can you say to everybody, I am so rubbish at, like, I've got all these emails and I hold my hands up. I'm going to go through and try, if I can get numbers, Paul and Trace, if you can get me all the numbers, I'm very much a phone call or a text. So even now, I'm not great with emailing, but I would try and get to everybody, try and link to everybody, because I really want to link this text is coming through and I really want to link the people. So it'll be amazing.
Oh, you've been an absolute gentleman, an absolute legend. You're an amazing guy. And just from the things that you're saying, you're a very humble guy, you know, and the fact that you want to make a difference in the world, which is what we're all about, is helping people and making a difference. You know, you align with what we stand for, you know?
So, so I want to thank you very much. And listen, I'm sure lots of people want to connect with you. We will be following up tomorrow with everyone's email connections as well. So listen, big round of applause. So well done, Raph. And,
thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me on. All right.